So good evening. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. I'm Cheryl Boswell. I'm the chair for the Women's Industry Network, also known as WIN, and I'm also the CFO for DCR Systems. We run and operate collision repair shops in the collision repair industry. So thank you so much to Body Shop Business and Babcock's Media for hosting this event tonight. For those of you who don't know, WIN started having regional events a couple of years ago because our membership said, hey, you have conference every year, but you have other opportunities for us to get to know people and to network in person. And so we started hosting these types of events. But this is the first one where we actually had a media sponsor sponsoring it, and we're actually going to stream this live. So we're really excited about this, and we thank everybody for all the time and energy it took to put this together tonight. So thank you so much. I wanted to take a little bit of time to tell you about the Women's Industry Network. Some of you don't know a lot about us. Raise your hand if you know anything really about the Women's Industry Network. I'm just curious. So I think there's, okay, great. So maybe 50% of you. And one of the things we really worked on this last year with our communication company is to spread the word about WIN. So we were started back in 2006, and when we started, it was just a small group of women. I think about 6 women got together and started talking about opportunities in this industry and how to support each other. And so that was 2006, and now over the last 14 years, we now have over 500 members. So I think saying that we've grown significantly and we're still here today shows there's a need for an organization like WIN. So we're so excited to be here and share really our stories with you today. Our topic today is encouraging collision careers, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But first, I'm just going to give you some history on WIN. So our mission back in 2006, and it really hasn't changed significantly since then, is to really drive the sustainability of this industry by really supporting women, developing women through education and connections. And we've continued to do that, and we'll give you some examples of how we've done that. And our vision, we actually kind of dissected this a couple years ago. The board, we got together and we said, what do we really want to be when we grow up? What are we really focusing on? And so we said we want to be the network. We actually capitalized the network that drives the future of collision repair by doing 3 important things. One is attracting women into this industry. Number 2, retaining the women. How do we educate each other and educate women in the industry so they stay in the industry and support one another? And then advancing women so people can grow in their careers. A couple of things that we do, for example, and that we focus on is our sponsorship committee. And we couldn't continue along with these programs if we didn't have our sponsors. And so we really rely on our sponsors to help us and support us financially. But in turn, we actually support our sponsors. So we really pride ourselves on being there for our sponsors. For example, if a company wants to hire some women into their company, or they say, hey, I don't have a lot of women working in my company. I don't have a lot of women technicians. I don't have a lot of women employees. How can I attract women into my company? And that's where WIN comes into play. We want you to reach out to us, and we want to help mentor you and help you understand how to attract women. What do they find interesting? How can you keep them on board? Another thing that we do is we really focus on industry outreach. So we try to have lots of different touch points within the industry. So we had our first annual SEMA lunch during SEMA in November in Las Vegas. And for the first time ever, we invited sponsors to attend our lunch. Normally we would have a touch point with WIN members, but we actually invited our sponsors too. So our WIN sponsors and members came together. We had a great lunch, great way to connect, learn a little bit more about WIN is all about. And so it was such a great event. We really want to continue to do that on an annual basis. Another thing that we did this year that we're proud of is that we sponsored uniforms for women VOTEC students through CREF. And so CREF is really an important organization that really helps support young technicians, but we help support by purchasing uniforms. We also have our scholarship committee. And the scholarship committee is really one of those key pillars also of WIN. It's all about supporting women that are going through VOTEC schools and really trying to get their education and helping support them. So one thing that we do is we help provide a tuition reimbursement fund for them. So it's $1,000 towards their tuition. But I think even more importantly, we pay for them to attend conference so they can meet a lot of people in this industry and make connections. And then we connect them with a mentor. And mentorship is really key to anyone in anyone's career. Everyone should have a mentor, whether it's in their company or outside of their company, because there's times when you're going to need to reach out and say, what should I do? Or I'm running into an issue, or I want to grow, and having a mentor is important. So we've connected our scholarship winners with mentors, and they really help them with their journey. Last year, we're really proud because we had a number of scholarship applicants, and we were able to bring 9 scholarship winners to our annual conference. And that just shows that, hey, there are young women out there, there are women that are changing careers that want to have that type of relationship, that mentoring relationship, and they want to attend our conference and get to know more about the industry. And I'll have to say, I think most of those scholarship winners actually had job offers by the time they left conference last year. And we stay with them throughout their career. So we're really proud of what we're doing through scholarship. We also recognize women. We have what we call the Most Influential Woman Award. And that's where we're recognizing women who have really paved the way for other women in the industry. We actually just celebrated our 20th anniversary. So it was founded back in 1999. And we have over 90 women we've recognized over the last 20 years. And so that's where really we say thank you, you've made a difference. And I think sometimes just people just do their job because it's what they do and they're passionate about it. It's nice to take back, some time and say, hey, we appreciate you for what you've done, and we're able to recognize the women that way. So we had 4 MIWs last year that we were able to recognize. We have our annual educational conference. So it's a conference where we do a lot of things. We network with each other, we get to know people, we actually make these connections that we keep throughout our careers and many times through our lives. So just that opportunity to get to know other people is key. But it's also an educational conference. We talk about things like what's changing in the industry, what are hot topics you need to know about that's happening in your world today, how do you prepare yourself for the future? And I think, I'm guilty of it. We get back at our desks, we're doing our jobs, we're focusing on the day-to-day, and it's hard to realize, hey, there are other things outside my world that are happening. Oh gosh, I need to know these things are happening. And so the conference actually gives people the opportunity to do that. And so we're really proud of making it what we call an educational conference. The next one is taking place in May in Newport Beach. If you want more information about it, we have information here and it's on the web too. Last but not least, we started a new campaign this year that we're really excited about. We say, we encourage everyone to be a WIN member. You don't have to be a female to be a WIN member. We welcome all types of membership. But we also recognize there are other people out there that aren't signing up to become members because they don't have the funds to do it, or they feel uncomfortable joining because they're male, but they have 10 women they want to support. So we started what we call the Pay It Forward campaign, where if you want to sponsor a WIN member, you can either pick who that WIN member is, or you can say WIN pick, and the Women's Industry Network will pick who those go to, and you can actually apply on our website if you would like to be a WIN pick, WIN member. And if you do sponsor a WIN member, if you're a Pay It Forward individual, you get a pair of these limited edition WIN socks. And actually, if you want to film, they're very comfortable, and I own a pair, and I've worn mine a lot. So very cute and stylish. And then people can say, where'd you get those socks? Well, let me tell you. So anyway, so we're excited about that campaign. We actually have over a dozen WIN pick opportunities available. That means that 12 people have purchased WIN memberships that have not been given away at this point in time. So if anyone is interested, I encourage you to go to the womensindustry.network.com and apply. Okay, so here are just some more pictures of what we have going on. So you can see, so this is last year. These are our 4 MIWs from last year, and the other ladies are prior year MIWs. So I think that's kind of exciting to see how many women are attending conference that are past MIWs because it's that important to them. They're that passionate about WIN, and they get a lot out of attending conference as well. The upper right-hand corner, building networks, that's just an example. While we're at conference, we're about making those connections while we're learning, while we're sharing stories. The funding and scholarships, those are the 9 individuals that won the scholarship last year, and then the 2 scholarship co-chairs. And then this is a picture from our scholarship walk. So during conference, we have an annual scholarship walk. So the money raised from that actually goes to support the scholarship fund. And not only do you get exercise, and in that case enjoy the beach, but you're supporting one another and getting to know people. And actually some of my strongest connections now I made during the scholarship walk. So just, just 3 quick things just so you understand kind of where we're focusing from a goal standpoint. Last year, if you're at conference, really we talked about the 3s. Everything's supposed to be in 3s. You remember the 3s, focus on 3. A lot of times we have like, I've got 20 goals for this year. It's better to have like 3. And when we already had 3, so we were on the right track, feeling good about that. But one is resource the industry. We want to be the industry that's the organization that's really helping feed individuals into this organization, providing information so you understand how to hire and get people into the industry and retain them. And one of the things that we really ask for is, can we do a survey? Can we understand why people are entering this industry or aren't? What's appealing to them about it? And thank you to Bruce and Jason. We'll hear more about those survey results. Number 2, we're focusing on expanding capacity. We really want to grow. We want to be over 1,000 members. So we need to make sure we've got the foundation to support it, whether it's resources in place, the financial support that we need. So we're focusing on expanding our capacity, and then we want to strengthen the network. We want to make sure we're here for the women entering this industry and helping retain them once we get them. So I think that sums it up, except for we are all over communication. So if you want to know more about WIN, we're everywhere. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. We're sharing a lot of stories about other women in the industry, what we're doing. So I invite you to take a look at what we have going on. Just a lot of exciting projects out there. And one thing I didn't mention is, if you're interested in participating in WIN in any way, shape, or form, we have lots of ways for people to get involved in committees. And we also have ways for people just to take on a project. So it doesn't have to be a long project. It could be, I have 2 hours to devote, period. Okay, great, we'll take those 2 hours. Or I've got 1 hour a month, great, we can get you busy. So if anyone wants to get involved in WIN, please let us know. That's why we're here, and we definitely have opportunities. So thank you. So now, without further ado, thank you. All right, I'll pass on the microphone to Jason.
Thanks, Cheryl. Great job. Make sure I know how to work this thing here. Okay. Do you guys like numbers? Because we're going to see a lot of numbers tonight. Okay. I'm a stats guy myself. I'm going to show you some stats from our 2019 industry profile that was done last year that kind of encapsulates the industry in numbers. And this particular segment is going to focus on a state of the workforce in collision. Later, after my presentation, Bruce is going to reveal the results of an exclusive survey we did with WIN of young people to get to understand their career choices and why they choose the careers they do. But this was the industry profile from last year. 42.7, the average age of body shop production personnel. And I was looking at that going, that's not that old. I mean, I would love to be 42 again myself. But I thought, that's probably 42 going on 52. I mean, collision techs have a very laborious job. There's a lot of repetitive motion, arms, hands, wrists, and things on their knees and cold floors. They're working fast because a lot of them get paid on flat rate. So, collision guys age a little faster than the rest of us. So that's pretty alarming. What percentage of your workforce is female? Front office personnel, 32%. Interestingly, production shop personnel, 9%. Big difference there. Clearly, there's a lot of runway and a lot of opportunity for women in the production shop. Are you experiencing challenges in finding body techs? 83% say yes. No surprise there. Everyone's having trouble. I have a recent example, Ron Nagy of Nagy's Collision Centers, who just sold out to Caliber, actually a major consolidator. He was opening a new store in Hartville. And I said, Ron, how'd you do this? How'd you find help? He goes, Jason, it was easy. We're the best in the market. If you're the best shop in the market, people will fight to work for you. But most shops, 99% are not in that position. You would like to get in that position and have people coming to you. But that was interesting because I thought for sure, how would you staff this shop? Well, he had no issues. Are you experiencing challenges in finding front office help? 41%. He said yes. This probably isn't surprising. Number one source for production personnel, 36% internet. I mean, it's 2020, right? I mean, that was probably newspapers 30 years ago, right? 31% employee referral. You have a technician named Tom who works for you. He's got a buddy who's not happy at another shop, wants to go to your shop, or maybe he's in construction and hit his thumb one too many times with a hammer. He wants to get in a collision. There's that. 23% other, that could be, you know, recruiting to VOTEC schools, having a sign on your shop, whatever that might be. 5% newspaper ads, so clearly that's out of vogue these days, and other shops 5%. How often do you replace a tech? I mean, 49% every 2 years, that's not ideal, right? I mean, I've been here at Babcock's for 14 years, and it looks like the average tech is lasting 2 years at these shops, so that's an alarming stat. But, you know, there's the old story about, you know, that's why my toolbox has wheels, just push it down the street to the next shop. About every 2 years, 27%, 17% once a year. That's a pretty alarming number too. And more than once a year, 7%. What sources have you used to find new techs for your shop? Local high school VOTEC program, 45%. Interestingly, you know, a lot of shops will call me and say it's hard to find techs and things, and I'll ask them, are you on your local VOTEC board? And they say, well, no. I'll say, well, that's a good place to start. You know, make sure that you're attached to that shop, to that school, and then they know that you have opportunities in your shop. Other source, 36%. Local post-grad, VOTEC program, 33%. In-house apprentice program, 27%. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of shops don't have an apprentice program, and there's various reasons. It's hard to manage. You have to have someone to manage it, do it well. A lot of times, too, you know, they don't provide the new employee with a good enough opportunity. They give them a broom and say, here, sweep this, and that's not going to, you know, excite them. And you know, they pick the wrong person to be the mentor for the mentee. You know, a certain person who maybe doesn't have the patience to deal with a young person, or is more concerned with losing hours and not making money. So an apprentice program is a really tricky deal. If it's done right, it can be good. If not, not so good. National school, UTI, 10%. Local work training program, 9%. So the shortfall, there's way more open positions than there are techs available. 56,000, the number of body shop jobs unfilled in 2016 per ICAR, and that number has only gotten worse. 46,000 number of, now we're talking about here automotive service technicians, not necessarily collision, but this is still illustrative of the automotive aftermarket. Number of automotive service technicians the auto repair industry will need by 2026. 120,000, the average annual demand for techs per the Tech Force Foundation. And this was interesting. Tech Force Foundation came up with this number, I think it was last year. They came out with a report. It's 20,000, the number of collision techs needed by the market in 2016, yet only 5,000 to 6,000 post-secondary graduates to fill those jobs. Okay, well, now I pass it off to Bruce.
Okay. So Jason showed what the situation is now, and what we tried to do is figure out why the young people might be choosing a career in skilled trades, a career in college, or what. So what we did was we took 2 surveys. The first survey, the respondents to that, I refer to as the gens because they came from the general population. We recruited 420 respondents, equally split between male and female. They were all between 18 and 24 years old. 64% were in school. Almost 2/3 of those who were in a school were in a college. Only 4% of those in a school were in a technical or vocational or training program. 70% of these people are working either full or part-time. Remember, 18 to 24, so we have some high school seniors in this group. We also have people a couple years out of college. And of those working, 57%, slightly more than half, said that they were working in their chosen career field. and about 10% hadn't picked a field yet. They're like me, they still don't know what they want to be when they grow up. So, okay, so those are the gens, and we did this in the summer. Then in the fall, in the winter, we did a second survey of the techs. And we got 222 respondents, and this was 81% male, 19% female, which is, when you see where we recruited these people, that's sort of the industry average. We recruited them readers of our student publication, Tomorrow's Technician. We went to CREF, we asked them for people in their training program to take our survey. We reached out to some tech schools, and we also did outreach to younger employees of collision companies. We did not restrict it to 18 to 24. We took people a little bit older, but still starting out. 64% of this group are in a school or training program. And just about 20% are still in high school. Most are working either full or part-time. And 60% said they're in their chosen career field. Okay, now what we're going to do for the rest of this time is contrast the gens and the techs to see, are there differences? We know these people, they've already at least taken the first steps on a career in automotive skilled trades. What feature or what is it about them that we can tell is different from the general population, and there are ways that we can then focus who in the general population would be the better people to recruit. So we're going to be talking about the gens and the techs. However, don't think of them as two warring gangs like West Side Story, because actually the techs, while they're separate groups, would be considered a subgroup of the gens, the ones who are going to either a tech school or started working in a technical program. Now, most of the survey, we asked them we gave them a series of statements and asked them, do they agree or disagree on a scale of 5, strongly agree, 4 agree, 2 disagree, 1 strongly disagree, and there's also 3, which is sort of where they shrug their shoulders and say whatever. But what this means is when we add their scores together, if the average score is above 3, that means there's more agreement than disagreement in that particular statement. Less than 3 means there's more disagreement. Of the gens we've asked, the statement, I've considered a career in skilled trades. Overall, the score was 2.92, meant more disagreement than agreement. They weren't thinking about skilled trades. Now, for the males, it was slightly positive, 3.3. For females, it was much more negative, 2.55. We did not ask that of the techs because they all have, either working in a skilled trade already or training for it. So we assumed their answers are going to be very close to 5. We also asked them if they considered any of these skilled trades. These are the gens, and a little small, but auto care technician, 9% male, 8% female considered it. Collision tech, 5% and 2%. That's for the general population. If you stopped 100 people between 18 and 24 on the street, asked them, that's how many would consider skilled trades. And when we say consider, it might mean they just picked up a brochure at a career fair. Maybe they heard a talk somewhere. They thought, it's not necessarily taking a class or anything like that, but considered it. So this is an example of one of the statements we tested. Now, I had enough data for 40, 50 slides, but I sort of figured you didn't want 40 or 50 slides. So what I'm just going to do is show you the highlights, the places where there's a big difference or a very key area in between the two groups. So we had a couple that looked at the overall attitude towards their career choice. One, I am confident of my job/career choice. Among the gens, almost identical between male and female. Remember, this is a survey. There's a slight margin of error, so that's the same. And it's almost the same between males and females in the techs, but you can see there's a difference. The people who are in the technical schools are more confident that they've made the right choice in their careers than the people in the general population. I was encouraged to go to college. You can see there's a big difference between the two groups. Less of a difference, very much closer, between the females who are in the tech program and the females overall. Much bigger difference for the males. Also, number of aptitude questions, like do you like, I like this, I like that. Two things that really stood out. One was, I like to work with my hands. Even the gens, it's positive. It's getting up close to 4, but for the techs, it's much higher. Little difference between male and female here, much bigger difference here. And something almost the same, I like to fix things. Again, the people in the tech programs are much more interested in fixing things than the general population. Then we asked, what do they look for in a career? And high salary, good benefits, job security, a clean, safe workplace, so on. In almost every factor, the techs considered that more important than the people in the general population. Maybe they think about it more. Maybe the people in the general population, we had a high number of philosophy majors in college or something like that. But you can see that high salary, 75% of the males, 68% of the females in techs said that's an important consideration for their career choice, compared to 64 and 63. Good benefits, 80%, 69 and 65 for the general population. Almost every case, the males among the techs said something is more important than the females, except in one place, and that is in a clean, safe workplace, where it was a slight edge for females 63%, males 60%. Think of it as the same, but in almost every other case, it was more important for the males. Here it wasn't, and luckily collision shops, they're all clean and safe. So, and job status was considered more important than in the general population, which includes more people going to college, more people incurring high student loan debt and stuff like that. But job status was more important. They're in a tech program, so we could assume that they think that's still a high status job. Then anyone in the tech group, in the tech survey, who said they are either in a collision training program or in the collision field now, they asked, what factors made you consider collision repair as a career? Select all that apply. And the economic factors, you can make a good income, wasn't the most important. For the males, it seems like interesting work. I enjoy repairing things. That's more important than the income. On the other hand, things like relationships. I was wondering if, following along in the family body shop or something like that, is that important? It doesn't seem to be. I know people who work in this field. I have family members who work in this field. Does not seem as important. Now, one other thing that showed up that I didn't put in the slides, but in general, we had a few statements that tried to see did they come from a sort of white collar background or blue collar by asking, does your high school have a vocational education program? Many of my classmates went to college. In general, the people who were in the tech program, in the tech survey, it appeared to be a little more blue collar than the general population. So if you're going to recruit, you probably don't want to do a technical training program, start recruiting in a very wealthy white collar suburb. If parents are doctors and lawyers, there might be more resistance to going into any skilled trade career compared to the others. So that's part of that. Like I said, we could do 40 more slides, but I don't want to stand between you and the buffets. So we'll stop here and open it up for questions.
So Bruce, let me ask right off the bat. Analysis, and Cheryl, your input too. Selling points to collision repair versus gems. You had 20-point difference for those who are now in the business, or young people who are in the business, who said they are happier with their career choice than gens and millennials in general, as well as they prefer the benefits, the job security, feeling valued at work, job status. I mean, I would think those are pretty good selling points if you're looking to recruit young people to get back in that may have been just word of mouth, but this is from those people who are in the business.
Yeah, and I do, like, to your point, Chris, I think that's good information for us to have as employers, that those are the things that we need to be sharing when we're trying to hire as well. So maybe the job postings that we have out there, the way we're communicating, maybe those are some things that we should start sharing. Because if someone's not familiar with this industry or the job positions, they might not realize that. So, and Bruce, I think you had some comments to that too.
He's hiding.
Yes.
Sorry.
He's going to sing "When You're a Tech All the Way."
Yes. From your first cigarette to your last dying day.
Is that a song?
Okay, at least a few
that a
musical
song?
theater fans here.
So those are key trends. I mean, those
Yes.
are important things. We try and think, why would someone want to come into collision repair? It's like, well, this is what the folks who are in it are saying about it.
And we also have took some open-ended questions that a lot of people say, you can make a good buck in this. And so it's the same, there's a shortage, so it's not like, people who want to be philosophy professors where there's just not a demand for them. There's demand for this.
Yeah, I almost feel like this industry is like the best kept secret. I think so many kids, when they're growing up in elementary or middle school or high school, don't know anything about this industry, don't think anything about this industry unless they get in a car accident or they happen to have exposure to someone that works in this industry. And so they don't even think about, hey, when I grow up, this is what I want to do. And I mean, I think, if we're communicating with kids in elementary, middle school, high school, and we say, you can make this kind of living, I think they'll be shocked. What? I can make that much money? I mean, I over time and time again, I hear about kids like, I want to work at Amazon. Really? Why do you want to work at Amazon? Because you know the name. It's a brand you know. How much are you going to make working at Amazon? How much do you think you're going to work making the collision repair industry? I mean, that's the kind of message as an industry we need to be able to get out there so that other people, kids, when they're younger, start hearing this message earlier and earlier and earlier. So they know it's a viable option. And then we're educating the parents too, because the parents need to be educated too. They probably don't realize what kind of living someone can have and what their growth pattern can be and the opportunities to grow. They can start off, at a low wage and they can make a huge wage and they can change positions within the industry. So.
Yeah, and just point out, collision repair, among the broader population, it's close but still lags the more general auto tech. But, it's going to be the same people you're going for in that case. So.
Based on what you just said, though, I mean, being in this industry for 20-some years, and maybe it's just my eyes are being opened more, don't you see that they seem to be promoting it more about the trade industry? I mean, I keep seeing more things, whether it be on Facebook or in the news or whatever, about, don't be upset that your child doesn't want to go to college.
Right.
There's another option for them to do it, unless I'm just aware of it more.
I'm starting to see more of that too, and I think that's so critical. But I really feel like I'm just starting to hear that message over the last couple of years. Because before that, I wasn't hearing that message at all. But now people are like, oh my gosh, it's so much student debt to go to college. And then what kind of jobs are people getting when they graduate from college? And then they've got this loan debt they're paying off for the rest of their careers. So I love that message, and I'm just starting to hear that over the last couple of years. And that's what we need to continue sharing that information. I mean, recently I was talking to a mother, her son is going to college, and it was the first time I heard another mother just randomly say, I think really the trades might be better for my child. And I was like, yeah, this is good. So I think it's starting to turn, but we need to continue to share the story.
And I just wonder, from like the perspective of guidance counselors, what type of training they get, like at the junior high school level, because they're helping, especially in blue collar communities. I mean, that might be the only guidance that a kid is getting, right? For,
It's true.
Their career path, and there is such a low barrier to enter into the trade workforce in the terms of, you're not talking about 4 years of training, and oftentimes you're talking about 18 months, 24 months.
Right.
Much more affordable. And I think that's maybe there's something there, right? To really ensure
agree.
that guidance counselors are getting a lot more training. This doesn't have to be a plan B. This is
Right.
a great plan A for the right student.
Right. No, I completely agree. And there are some schools that have programs. Recently, when we were asked to come back and talk about non-traditional careers for women, and so that was one of the opportunities. There was a woman firefighter that was there. I was there from the collision repair industry. So I was so impressed with that school for reaching out and saying we want to talk about those things. But in terms of how to get to the counselors and to back to the school. So we need to do a better job. How do we reach out to those school scouts? Easier said. School counselors or schools. How do we get to the educators? And help educate them so they know to even offer it as a viable option. I think so many schools, they have so many students and maybe not enough counselors. So they're just trying to process, right? So how do we? That's something as an industry we need to figure out. How do we tap those? Great point.
And I think it's about changing the image of the industry by changing our shops and then being able to share that message. When people think of our industry, they think of this, right? And a lot of dust. Where today it's now this, and research and understanding the technology.
Yeah.
We were at the BMW certification conference last week, and it showed a slide that depicted 160 some computers on today's vehicles, advanced vehicles. So that's a whole different ballgame than what parents think of the body shop industry. That they're going to be doing this and breathe a lot of dust when it's really a whole different ballgame today where technology has taken over. The first thing we're teaching our young people do, and any of our people, start reading, researching.
Right.
Forget your last repair. Read the guidelines and the work instructions on this repair because they're liable to be different than the same car that you worked on last week because of the changing technology. So I think it's really changing the image of the industry by changing our shop, but then sharing that message with schools out there, getting that message out, whether it be a service announcement or something like that this has changed. You almost could show the comparison of the old body shop mentality and what that was about versus all the technology and the part of it, the important part of our world today.
Yeah, I mean, the point was, the greater technology used in the body shop today, the more among the gens, more popular than auto care, collision repair for skilled trade was electronics. But you repairing cars today, it's electronics. Yeah. If you're in the body shop, you've got the ADAS, you've got the all kind of computer systems. So,
yeah, good point.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a whole different a whole different world. I mean, we do a lot of videos on social media and stuff, and you hear the comments from some of the older body techs, and they talk about, where's the dust in the shop? They must not do any work.
Where's the big hammer?
Parts changing. Well, you know what? Hey, wake up today is about changing parts. That's what it's about. It's about understanding how to do that. It's not about that repaired panel anymore.
I think one thing that we may fall short in is, explaining a career path to the younger people. They do not have to stay in the business, sanding, painting, or whatever it is.
Right.
They can move on. They can be estimators. They can be educators. They could be sales reps for paint companies or equipment companies. There are so many different things that they can do by piggybacking off that. Not that shop owners want to, give up their guys, but if you're going to get people in here, you have to show them that this is a real career. It's not going away. It's not like you're selling Kodak film. I mean, they're out of business. The cars are always going to be around, and all these products are going to be around.
The question was, talking about the career path, that what you start doing when you first enter the industry might not be what it is you're doing at the end.
Sure.
And a point in the open-ended comments someone made, he goes, this is, they're never going to take these wrecked cars, ship them to China, get them repaired, and ship them back.
Bruce, I wanted to point out one of your numbers earlier about I think the top two factors for choosing the collision job was salary and benefits. And I've always been told that this next generation doesn't care about money. I think that is in direct opposition to that. I think that's interesting. And we do hear about that they care about vacation time. Well, maybe that's benefits there. But clearly they do care about getting paid a good salary.
It could be a difference between the people who are going to college and listening to college professors and those who don't.
It's interesting too, I asked collision repairers, if you could do it all over, would you have gotten this industry? And the vast majority say yes. Despite all the hardships they've had, it's been a successful career. And I talked to a local shop recently whose father was handing the shop to his son. And I looked at the son, I said, you crazy? You really want to do this? He goes, yeah. He goes, I had a great life growing up. Fishing trips to Canada, nice yard, ATVs. I want to continue that. And I went, wow, there's a success story, because usually you hear about the next generation not wanting to carry on the shop.
We're not realizing how much hard work goes into it, or they've been a part of it. Would you say most of them?
Yeah, the fathers usually try to get them involved, depending on their skill set. Maybe they're handy, so they fix cars, or maybe they're a computer whiz and they do the social media, whatever, but they try to get them involved. But you do see a fair amount of the children, opting to. Hopefully, you have like 5 kids, so maybe one at least carries on the, But
Not to put one of our guests on the spot, but second generation, and we had a chance to talk, as I've had a chance to with other shop people, that it's like, no, when you're a kid, you're going to start sweeping and things like that, right? I mean, in this business, if you're going to succeed.
It's actually funny that you bring it up though, because as a kid, I would go earn money and go clean the office or help my mom with filing. But in the grand scheme of things, I had nothing to do with it. I moved out here. I actually went to college. I have a degree in graphic design and photography, and here I am running my family's auto body shop. I've done it for 6 years now, and it's more my mom stepped down, opportunity arose, I was moving back. And honestly, talking to him, started it when he was 19. Him and my grandfather actually started the towing business when he was 10. And it's like, how'd you do this? I walked into CCC and I've been able to learn and adapt, but how did you write an estimate without a computer?
Yeah.
It's so bizarre to me.
You're going to get one of those and one of those, one of those.
Right, how long did it really take you to write an estimate? He's like, about 2 hours. I'm like, oh no, I don't have time. But I mean, now I'm really happy in the career that I did take on, and it is my goal to take it from him and carry that on. In the grand scheme of things, he would have preferred his son to do it, but, in the last 6 years, and if he was sitting next to me, he would tell you, we've never been busier, things have never been smoother. I'm really happy that my college degree took me to a trade.
Stacey, can I ask you, what's your favorite part of the job?
As of right now,
Yeah.
arguing with insurance companies.
Oh,
Who wins?
okay.
I'm gonna give it about an 8 out of 10. I usually get what I want.
That's great. That's
Biggest argument right now is pre-scans and post-scans.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible things. But I love carrying on my family name. I love the fact that I now, as I was telling Amy, my 6-year-old daughter is in washing cars with me.
yeah,
You know,
perfect,
I
yeah.
am the parts person, I'm the detailer, I'm the
Mhm.
office manager, I'm the estimator, I'm everything, and I couldn't be happier and more satisfied in my job.
It's great. Thank you for sharing.
Cinderella story.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
great.
I can ask with Patty and Susie here about working with MSOs. What are you seeing as far as getting new techs involved? Ones that you can get, and ones that you help promote within the organizations.
Something I think is we go out and we're on these advisory boards when they're already chosen the collision industry at a career center or a vocational school. But what we should go out and advocate before that. So when the kids are in 9th or 10th grade, going and joining the career fair and promoting your business before they get to the point where they have to choose that path.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes they've chosen that path because their mother or their father are in that industry already.
Mm-hmm.
What about recruiting those new kids that don't know about it yet before they've made that choice to go to the vocational school for collision or whatever they
Right. Definitely. I think that's definitely key.
I think also too, the part that we didn't really speak about is the educational part. So I've noticed that we've probably had more success with reaching out to the vocational schools like OTC. So we go and do the career fairs, but I had made relationships with a few people where we kind of email on a regular basis. But I don't want to say that the thought process was, you know, you always wanted that educated technician. You know, you wanted someone who'd been in the industry, but I think the industry's changed so much that really the technicians who've been doing it for, you know, 15, 20 years, they don't really understand where we are today with all the OEMs. So we've had better luck bringing in the kids that are coming out of school, but I think we are kind of missing the boat of the high school aspect. But like OTC, you know, we'll bring them in, we'll get them out in with our car, we get them signed up for programs. So I think that the younger kids seem to like they like to have a path. They like to know what you are going to give them as far as education. And if you lay out a future for them, they run with it.
Right. Definitely.
Okay, I want to now introduce Amy Szymanski, who's the managing editor for Body Shop Business, who has a few more questions for us.
So Cheryl, I wanted to ask you, with WIN, how can you provide techs more assistance who are just getting started, or maybe they aren't sure about their career path, but they want to get more involved in the industry? How would you approach them?
Okay. Well, first of all, if someone is a student, I just want to let everyone know that students actually get a free WIN membership, so they can register to become a WIN member if they're a student. So that's just one way you can automatically connect with WIN. But if someone has entered the career field and they haven't joined WIN, I would encourage them to do that because we really pride ourselves again on the mentorship program. And again, whether it's a WIN member or it's someone within your company, I think that's critical because when you're entering into this industry, if you don't have someone you can lean on and go to, you might decide, hey, this is not the place for me. And that's where WIN really has those resources. We have one individual that came to conference a few years ago, and she stood up and said, hey, I love this industry and I love I thought I loved, you know, what I was doing, but I really decided it wasn't for me until I came to conference and I realized, hey, there are other people like me in this room and I actually have a support network now and I'm going to stay in this industry. And that individual is still in this industry and she's thriving. We had one of our scholarship winners who won a couple of years ago, and she was, you know, top of her class and she had gone to Skills USA and she was a rock star. So we brought her in to conference and she said, at the end of conference, she said, you know what, I was coming to conference because I won the scholarship and whatnot, but I wasn't planning on staying in here. I didn't feel like I had anyone I could lean on. I was the sole female in my class. I didn't have anyone I felt like could support me, and I was going to come to conference, finish out the school year, and I was done with this industry. She stayed in the industry, and now she works for a large insurance company at this point in time. But she stayed in the industry, and I think if you don't get a mentor or have someone you can talk to, and if they're at risk for leaving. So really, I'd say, hey, if someone is new to the industry, make a connection through WIN. Utilize us, and we'll connect you with the right person in your market or your company or whatever you need, because again, that's critical. So a lot of these kids don't have a parent that's in this industry, or they don't have a friend that they can talk to that might understand what they're dealing with, and so that's why it's so important to do that.
And Bruce, do you have a favorite statistic or one that stood out the most to you when you were reviewing the data from the survey?
Probably the part that when we looked at the aptitude, the working with your hands, liking to fix things, because that seemed to be a clear delineator between the people who go into techs. If you don't like, reaching down into an engine and doing something, or welding or something like that, you're probably not going to be happy. So you have to look at those general aptitude questions.
And Jason, we talk a lot about the tech shortage, but do you have any indication of what might have sparked the tech shortage and any solutions on how we might be able to get out?
That's a good question.
Well, I think we mentioned some reasons earlier. The media's pretty much been on top of this. Parents are not encouraging their children to take up a skilled trade. The parents may view it as an undignified trade or a dirty trade or something. We all know that's not true. But they'd rather see them become a doctor, a lawyer, and go to a four-year college. And of course, we've all been brainwashed to think that we must go to a four-year college. I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. I have an example myself, my personal example. So obviously being in collision for 14 years, I tried to talk my son into being a collision tech. He likes cars and more than me and stuff like that. And I said, why not? I got connections and stuff like that. He goes, Dad, I don't want to work that hard. He goes, he'd rather be in an air-conditioned office, designing cars and engineering and stuff like that, and he doesn't want to be in a shop level banging out dents. So there's that. Some of these young kids, they're seeing their friends, come up with an idea in college and on paper, and they get $200 million for just an idea to invest in some kind of a website or an app or something, and they go, gosh, that sounds a lot easier than being a body man. So there's all kinds of reasons. There's a lot of reasons. But like life, there's usually multiple reasons for one thing. There's not one reason.
What about solutions?
Oh boy. One thing I thought tonight, obviously we're not going to solve this in one night. I think shops have to get more involved. Again, I have shops complain to me about not having enough techs, and they're not participating in their local VOTEC board. They're not doing apprentice programs. They're not participating in the Collision Repair Education Foundation. They're not reaching out to WIN. In some ways they're sort of selfish. They want to solve their own problems, but they have to take an industry-wide approach. I kind of like what the MSLs are doing, the Gerbers and the Calibers, and they're coming up with their own academies. They have enough financial backing and resources to create their own schools, and they're generating their own workforce. And I think ultimately that could benefit other shops, because these guys, maybe they sign a 2 or 3 year contract to work for Caliber, but after that they're free to go where they want, and you have a trained technician who has tools and whatnot. So I really like what they're doing. Obviously you have to be big and have a lot of resources to do that. But I just think it comes down to involvement. In events like this, trade shows, associations, too many shops don't feel like they have the time to get out of the shop and participate and go to those career fairs that the Collision Repair Education Foundation has and things like that.
Well, one of the things I think that sometimes we get them in the door, right? We get someone who's gone to a VOTEC school, or we find someone who's interested. We get them in the door, but then as an industry, we lose them. And we lose a lot of those people that we bring in the door, because we're bringing them in, we're not setting up a true career path for them, we're not helping them succeed, and we're not training them. And the only way to really retain people is to actually support them once they come on board. At my company, it's a little bit different. We're a little bit different because we're not flat rate. And we actually love bringing in people that are new to the industry or new in the business, and we have a career path so they can grow. And we have resources on an app on their phone. They can figure out what they need to do in order to get to the next level. And we try to make it easy for them to grow. And we work as a team. And so people are able to develop. And I think those types of programs where they're feeling support in their job, you're going to have a greater success rate. You're going to have people that are going to be able to move up and stay in the industry. So it's not only like, fishing and getting someone in, you've got to help grow them so they stay in the industry. Because that's what we're churning, all this churn, that 50%, that churn. I bet if we looked at those stats, those 50% that we're moving, probably 80% are eventually leaving this industry. Maybe they all left the industry, they gave it a go. But if they're coming in having a good experience, and then they're sharing it with their family members, they're sharing it with their schools where they went to school, they're sharing it with their teachers, then we can start spreading the word. But we've got to do a better job at the industry in terms of really supporting the people that we're bringing in the industry.
I had a shop tell me, I said, what do you do with new guys? He goes, well, we give them a broom, we tell them to shut up, and maybe we'll call you by your first name in a year. And I went, okay, this is not the right way to go about it, So,
yeah, is that feeling valued at work? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Job status.
Yeah.
Best broom money could buy.
So Bruce, you mentioned that there's a discrepancy between men and women in just taking the survey and based on our results. So are there as many opportunities for women in this industry as there are for men?
In general, I would defer to them because I'm the numbers person. I don't go out and I look at the numbers. But if
safe
you
answer.
ignore 50% of the population, it makes it harder to fill your position. So you can look at it that way.
Going back to yes.
Safe answer. I hope we're getting away from these gender biased positions, to be honest
Right.
with you. The girl at the front desk, the guy washing the car. I mean, I hope that we're moving away from that. I mean, it's 2020. It's time to get away from that. If someone is interested or they have the skill set, they can do any job that there is to do in the collision repair industry. So we need to get away from that, and we all need to support the people in those roles. So it doesn't matter if you're a guy and you're a customer service, or you're a female and you're repairing cars. That is what we want. That's awesome. It shouldn't be based on gender. So I hope that we're starting to move away from that.
Jason, do you have any stories of women advancing that you've heard from your interaction with body shops?
Yes. I had a not so good story either, but
Do the good story.
okay, let me do the good one. No, I think in general, to echo some of your points, I don't think the body shops can afford to ignore the female population with such a big tech shortage.
Right.
It's impossible. They have to, reuse resources like WIN and whatnot to fill the gap. I'm kind of discombobulated now because I had a story. We just featured a girl on our cover from CarStar Akron East in Akron. She is Jenna. She's 19, 20. She's doing everything in the shop, and the owner, Paul Struhart Sr., is very open. He's very involved in the local Votech schools, and he had a female painter at his other shop too. So he's very open to that. You just have to be open to it, and I think they'd take aliens to work in shops right now. I mean, it's a desperate situation. So anybody who's hanging on to those old school stereotypes is just not going to make it.
Aliens like Spock. Right? Okay.
And how can people get more information about WIN, Cheryl? So if they're interested in signing up for it, how would they go about it?
Okay, great. So we have a website, the Women's Industry Network.org, and we've got LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn profile for Women's Industry Network. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. So we're pretty easy. If you just Google Women's Industry Network, we pop right up, and a lot of stories. So and then we have an email in there too. If anyone has questions, they can send an email to us, and we're happy to reach out.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up the questions that I have for today. Do we have any more questions from the audience?
So you mentioned that you're hoping to get to around 1,000 members or so.
Yes.
Do you have any sense of the the universe of women in the industry as it stands today?
That is a great question, and Bruce, that would be a good stat for you too.
For our next survey,
Well, if you looked at the tech, in the tech group is 19% female. There's 34,000, 35,000 body shops. How many do the average one employ?
Probably 7 to 8.
Okay, so there's your universe of in the shops itself, because there's also the industry includes the paint companies and the body filler companies and stuff like that. But that's a way of getting an idea of the at the moment the universe, but the universe hopefully is expanding.
So basically, with 1,000 members, that's not anywhere near the tip of the iceberg. So, I mean, and so we've really, as an organization, we've spent a lot of time building our infrastructure so we can support the growth. And so now we're just hoping to be able to reach more people and spread the word about WIN. And that's what has been one of our initiatives, is really spread the word about WIN. There are a lot of people that work for bigger companies or sponsors and might not even know that WIN exists. And there's people that have been working in the collision repair industry their entire career and that they don't know that we're here. And so that's why these types of events are so important, so we can share the message that we're here. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Thank our presenters.